a specific group of people that are so greatly affected by Ebola, but at the same time not affected at all. This seems contradictory, so let me explain using a story. This is Duda Flula. In his 2014 video posted by Street Child, titled Orphaned by Ebola, he breaks down as he explains his father is dead, his stepmother is dead, his brother is dead, his sister is dead, and his grandmother is dead. Although not specifically affected by Ebola, he was greatly affected by the loss it caused when it killed 5 members of his family. In his concluding remarks, he breaks down in tears as he states, "We are suffering. There is no hope. It's just hard to explain. Losing your entire family is just that, unexplainable." Although I'm sure many of you have heard of the Ebola virus, have you ever thought about the effects it has on the victims left behind? Today I'd like to talk about Ebola orphans. I want to challenge you that although you may not be specifically affected by the Ebola virus yourself, you have resources to help those who are, and in turn, make our world a better place. Like the majority, I had heard of Ebola victims, so I began researching through articles, journals, and videos. And I began to uncover a whole new aspect of Ebola. Ebola not only leads to death, it leads to orphans, and we need to be aware and of aid to the children left behind. I will begin by talking about what Ebola does to the infected, then move to the journey an Ebola orphan must live through, and conclude with practical ways we can help. Although many of us know Ebola, I doubt all of you could confidently explain what it is, the numbers it is affected, and where it is most prevalent. Before we can try to help the orphans, we must understand the disease that is killing the millions that they love. According to a 2014 article titled Ebola by Tim Leslie, posted on the ABC News website, Ebola is a virus infected by close contact. It infects your body and begins to replicate within host cells and spread. It causes small clots among the bloodstream, making your blood flow slow down and affecting close connecting tissues of organs and muscles, which eventually leads to internal and external bleeding, even through the eyes. The CDC, sponsored by the World Health Organization, released a June 2015 Ebola situation report that said that there are 11,207 deaths so far due to Ebola. This is the biggest outbreak yet, and the greatest devastation has been in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. However, you can see it is affecting people all over the world. Although we all can agree that 11,000 deaths is a tragic number, what is even more tragic is that for every one of those 11,000 people, there are thousands and thousands of children left without mothers and fathers. In a 2014 YouTube video titled The Orphans of Ebola, released by The National, a Canadian broadcasting program, senior correspondent Adrian Arsenal said, "It's hard enough to get the word out about Ebola, but then there's a whole nother aspect. What do we do with the people that are left behind? And especially, what do we do if they are children?" David Evans makes a crucial point in his 2014 World Bank Group Orphans and Ebola paper that there's a disproportionate mortality rate among the working age population, therefore a higher mortality of parents with younger children. So let's look at the stages that Ebola orphans have to live through. Stage 1, the parent gets sick. The child is then stuck in the home with the child to care for them and do what they can to help their parent. This is hard because then the child could get infected and they are watching the parent deteriorate before their eyes. Then stage 2. Typically, the parent's symptoms will get worse and worse, and they eventually go to an Ebola treatment unit. At the unit, they will be tested positive for Ebola, and the child will be tested as well. In most of the stories that I read, the child either didn't have Ebola or they had early symptoms and were able to recover. This leads to step 3, where the parent passes away. The emotional toll of loss and the realization that your parent is forever gone is unfathomable. The children are typically psychologically scarred. Then stage 4. The children need to find a new home. However, unlike normal orphans, they have to overcome the stigma of being a child of a person who died of a deadly disease. Typically, relatives and locals refuse to take them in fear that they might get the disease themselves. This leads to stage 5, the last stage, where the children feels like they have little to no hope. It doesn't help that most of these kids are living in environments where there's poor food, poor health, and poor schooling. So, What can we do to help? First, we need to acknowledge that Ebola affects not only you and I, but people worldwide. According to a 2014 CNN article reported by Betsy Klein, President Obama himself stated, "If we don't make an effort now, Ebola could spread not only throughout Africa, but throughout the world. The virus could mutate, and it could become more easily distributed all over the world, and it can become a serious danger." Second, many of us here, as well as watching online, call ourselves Christians, and as followers, we must remember what James 1:27 states, that pure and genuine religion takes care of the orphans. Even as non-Christians, we desire to live in safe communities, and in order to do this, we must help other communities so that when we are in need, they will help us as well. So how can we do this? According to ACU alumni Kent Brantley, survivor of Ebola, he made a 2014 talk that was posted on YouTube called Surviving Ebola. He begs us that we find practical ways to help. He suggests that we could donate money, we could organize awareness programs, we can try to dispel the panic, or we can volunteer. There are so many different aspects that you can help Ebola orphans. Throughout my speech, I hope you have come to a better understanding of the Ebola virus, a better understanding of the number of children that is truly affecting, and therefore become more inspired to do what you can to help. We must rise up to help the helpless and heal the hurting. Whether we are millions of miles away or right next door, we can do little things that can make a big difference. Children like Judah can feel like there is hope. These children no longer will feel like they are left behind.